Good morning to all from Bolero Mount Prospect. This is the 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. local time squad of the PBA LBC National Championships. 3 squads of competition today. This is our busiest weekend of the event. With weekend number 5, we had the PBA 50 Tour. A lot of their stars bowl yesterday on a special Friday afternoon squad. We've got a couple of big names on this squad this morning. We have Sean Lavery Spar, PBA exempt player bowling. And we also have last year's champion in the Open Classic division, Mark Blaha. There you see Blaha in the blue and green jersey. As practice is underway, about 8 minutes of practice remaining. Appreciate everyone joining us early on a Saturday morning. I'm $2 Phil Brilo, Rogue Foppy joining me as well. We'll have a little insight from Rogue on some of the players that start off with quality scores on the squad a little later on the squad. And as I mentioned, big day of competition, busiest weekend of the event here in weekend number 5. Got a big squad from Creating the Difference, that great PBA product registered company, on our 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. here in Mount Prospect squad. And then tonight at 7 p.m., we have 4 PBA exempt tour players on that 7 p.m. squad with Matt Russo, Patrick Dombrowski, Bailey Maverick, and Dio Bernard. And that doesn't end the exempt pros for the weekend, as tomorrow morning on our 11 a.m. squad, the only squad we have on Sundays, 11 a.m. local, noon Eastern, Andrew Anderson and Chris Prather will be taking to the lanes. So it's pretty interesting when bowlers walk in the door and they see that they're paired up with a PBA exempt player. We had a great video with Natalie Tackett last week with a couple of bowlers that were on her and EJ's pair. If you missed that on the PBA LBC Facebook page, check it out. Just the reaction of the gentleman going like, wow, we're getting the bowl with EJ today on the pair. You're not bowling against them. PBA exempt players have their own division, so don't have to worry about bowling against them. But how much fun would it be to come home after your squad of the PBA LBC National Championships and go, I just bowled with Chris Prather on my pair, or I just bowled with Andrew Anderson or Matt Russo or Sean Lavery Spar. It's a pretty neat experience to have. And there's still a couple of weekends that you can have it. If you haven't entered yet, there's still room here at Bolero Mount Prospect over our final 2 weekends of competition, July 5th and 6th, July 12th and 13th. Still room on those days. Your Saturday squad's 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. here in Mount Prospect. Your Sunday squad is at 11 a.m. local time. And don't worry, if you have somebody that you're keeping an eye on this squad, if you look at the description underneath this video you're watching in the main feed, or if you're watching us on the LBC Facebook page, go to youtube.com/PBA, and on the live tab on that YouTube page you'll see all the pair feeds available to you to watch, or you can see it in the description on the video for the main feed on YouTube. My recommendation is right tab and open up the pair you want to watch. If you're a Sean Lavery Spar fan, you want to watch him all the way through. He's starting at 11 and 12, but as I said, right-click and open a new tab because we have all the big information for you here. We follow the hot hands, follow bowlers chasing perfect games and such here in the main feed. And you can get that audio while you're watching your favorite player in that tab. So if you have any questions about the PBA LBC National Championships, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll get those questions answered for you. Just one new leader yesterday in the event, coming off the special squad that was mostly PBA 50 Tour players. We had bowlers from all divisions on that squad, however, including a couple PBA exempt players with Nate Purchase and Ryan Barnes. They fell a little short of EJ Tackett's number put up last Saturday with 1450, but Chris Barnes, or as he comically put his signature on his score sheet yesterday, Ryan's dad. Chris Barnes put up a 1438. 6-game total to take the lead in the senior classic division. And basically a big rewrite at the top of that division after yesterday's squad. Dan Higgins was the leader at 1356 coming in, but we had several players exceed that number. We also had an exciting 300 to start the day yesterday by Rudy Kazamakis, or as a lot of people know him as Rudy Revs. Rudy had 2 solid games out of 6. He had a 300 to open, he had a 280 in game 4, but still fell a little short of the Chris Barnes score. And actually he finds himself in 5th position overall, as after yesterday's squad, Dan Higgins finds himself going from 1st place to 9th place, as Jeremy Wolf, Michael Haugen Jr., Kirby Allen, Rudy Revs, Corey Rockdashell, John Janowitz, and Tom Adcock all exceeded Higgins' score. And of course Barnes, as we mentioned, your new leader at 1438, 28 pins ahead of Tom Adcock. Adcock had a heck of a finish. He had a relatively average start. .224, .202, .217. And a strong finish, 279, 254, 234, taking up to that 14-10 total.
A reminder that when everyone on your pair is finished with each game, please make sure to hit the space bar to move your scores to the next pair. Okay, everyone, let's give these competitors a round of applause. Okay, good luck and good scoring.
John Janowitz finished at 14:02 yesterday. Low game of 190 in game 4, but he bounced back with 258, 246. Getting in the number 3 spot overall. But Chris Barnes avoided that game that everybody else seemed to find that dropped him below 200 for a game. As Barnes' low game of the day, game 4, 222. But he offset it by throwing his high game of the day, 258 in game 6. Other 4 games are 247, 234, 236, and 241. So Barnes, with the consistent day, has himself in the lead in the Senior Classic division. We'll see if Mark Blaha gets a chance to repeat. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on him today. We'll keep an eye on Sean Lavery's spar. And let's kick things off here with Melanie McDaniel, Larry Huang, Chris Pulliam, and Ryan McDaniel on lanes 3 and 4. McDaniel in the Women's Classic division of the Melanie variety. Ryan in the Open Classic division. Chris in the men's handicap coming in at 179, and Ryan McDaniel, oh, we mentioned Ryan already, I'm sorry, Larry, also in the men's handicap division at a 179 average. Next door on 5 and 6, Robert Hatfield, Noel Medina, and Ruben Medina. Hatfield bowling in the Senior Classic division. Ruben Medina in the men's handicap coming in at a 152 average. And Noel Medina at a 179 average in the men's handicap division. So that's the one great thing about this PBA LBC National Championships. Does not matter what your entering average is. There is a division for you, and you can get your experience. On the lanes, just like a PBA Tour Pro would. A little different lane pattern. Obviously, we don't make it as tough as the PBA Tour pattern here at the LBC National Championships, but it is still a pattern you have to make good shots on. About 4.5 to 1 ratio. Inside to out on this pattern. 42 feet in length and 31.25 milliliters in the pattern, so a decent amount of volume. Let's get over to 7 through 10 once again. All pairs in play available to you to watch on the PBA YouTube channel. As on 7 and 8, John Cook, Jeannie McGee, Miley Malone, and Dwayne McGee, your bowlers on 7 and 8. John Cook in the Open Classic division. Jeannie McGee in the women's handicap division coming at a 165 average. Dwayne McGee in the men's handicap division coming in at 184. And Molly Malone in the women's classic division. Uh, 9 and 10, Aiden Mitz, Cameron Zog, Max Hyatt, and Sean Willie, your players on 9 and 10 in game 1. Aiden in the Open Classic division. Cameron in that same division. Max Hyatt in the men's handicap division. I don't know if that's right or not. He's coming in at a 229 average. I'd find it hard to believe he's in the men's handicap division. I would think that would be an Open Classic bowler. We'll have to have the record keepers of the event check that out. And Sean Willie in the men's handicap division as well. But he's also at a 225 average, so I find that hard to believe that those players would continue in that division. Let's take a peek in over on 11 through 14. There is your PBA exempt player on the squad, Sean Lavery Spar. He's got a 1450 6-game total set by EJ Tackett to beat. Sean on the pair with Jeremy Grant, Mallory Clark, David Schaub. Mallory Clark in the women's classic division. We'll see Mallory in the next PWBA event in Green Bay, that 10th anniversary event being held in conjunction with Junior Gold. Jeremy Grant bowling in the Open and Classic division, and David Schaub in the Senior Classic division next door on 13 and 14. Lonnie Mullinax, Greg Mullinax, Tracy Woodard, Jarius Williams. Tracy Woodard in the Senior Classic division. Jarius Williams in the Open and Classic division. Greg Mullinax, Senior Classic. Lonnie Mullinax, Boys Junior Handicap at a 157 average. As SLS picks up the baby split. Get you over to 15 through 18. The defending champion in the Open Classic division on 15 and 16 with Mark Blaha. Blaha bowling with Zach McNevin. Zach in the Open Classic division, and Brandon Hansen. Brandon also in that Open Classic division. Scott Schultz on the approach on lane 17. Schultz in the Open Classic division. His lane mates, his brother Jake Schultz. Jake in Open Classic. Dan Delano in the Open Classic division, and Peyton Naback, the tall lefty, PBA regional player. He's hit a couple. He had a nice cash down in Lockport back on Memorial Day weekend as Naback takes care of business on that shot. I think Blaha trying to get the nerves out of the way. It's never easy coming back into an event when they, have you as the defending champion and then announce it before the tournament, and then, oh yeah, by the way, your picture's on a giant poster on top of the masking units down on lanes 27 and 28. So there you see Blaha in that blue and green jersey. Life has not changed a lot for him since that win. Still bowling league up in Minnesota. $25,000 he won last year gave him a little cushion, and he had a great time in Portland, even though he didn't take down that LBC National Championships Clash title. Hey, defending champ, welcome back. Here's your 710. Don't count Mark out of it early just because he's off to a slow start. He didn't have exactly the greatest start last year. But he closed with a couple of big games, including a 279 in his final game to take down that Open Classic title. Let's get you to your players on 19 through 22. Bob Zucker, Ethan Holmes, Bethany King, Tyson Schauer, your bowlers on 19 and 20. Leonard Long, Troy Stebbins, Thomas Loverick, Kevin Young, your players on 21 and 22. All your players in 21 and 22 except Kevin Young in the men's handicap division. Young in the Senior Classic division. Next door in 19 and 20. All your players on that pair are in the Open Classic division. As Shower gets through the nose. Bethany King, something tells me she's in the Women's Classic division. It has Open Classic on my score sheet, but I would believe that would be. We'll get that looked into. Let's get you over on 23 to 26. 23 and 24, Eric Drehorst, Hunter Handevelt, Ted Handevit, and Reagan Mathis. Eric in the men's handicap division coming in at a 172 average. Hunter in the men's handicap at 176. Todd in the men's handicap at a 141. And Reagan in the women's handicap at a 192 average. Next door on 25 and 26, Bill Viverette, Kevin Johnson, Zachary Bear, and William Aldrich. Bill in the Senior Classic division. Kevin in the men's handicap division. Zach Bear in the Open Classic division, and Aldrich also in that Open Classic division. Over to 27 through 30 as we're starting to run out of lanes here inside of Bolero Mount Prospect. On 27 and 28, Rachel Moore, Jake Evitz, and Eric Porcher. There you see Rachel with the strike. Rachel in the Women's Classic division. Jake Evans in the Open Classic division. Dennis Eckfritz, is on 27 and 8, along with Griffin Rourke. Griffin Open Classic, Dennis in the Senior Classic. Eric Porcher actually on 29 and 30. Porcher in the Open Classic. His lane mate's Derek Gunn in the Senior Classic division, and William Roberts in the Open Classic division. And let's finish off our players here. On 31-32, Jerome Roberts, Willie Wilson, Derek Harris, Patrick Dennis. Jerome in the Senior Classic division. Willie also in that Senior Classic division. Derek Harris, Senior Classic. Patrick Dennis, Open Classic. Next door, 33 and 34, Kobe Franklin. Kobe in the Open Classic division. Anthony Green in the Open Classic division. Margaret Ventrella in the Women's Classic division. And David Lampart in the Men's Handicap division at 186. So the ladies, quite a few of them on this squad that are looking at the Women's Classic division leader. And that is Amanda Lang. She set that total last Sunday morning at a total of 1323. If you look at past years, and especially with the two-time defending champion of that division, Liz Johnson, not having bowled yet and having exceeded 1,500 on both of those 6-game totals for Liz, one would think that the 1323 by Amanda Lang will not be enough, and somebody over the next 3 weekends, this weekend and the 2 weekends in July, will take that total down. Let's check in on Sean Lavery Spar here as he's turned things around. After a slow start, the first 3 frames, put a 5-bagger on the board for SLS. Let's check in on our defending champion, Mark Blaha. Blaha not having a great start. He's got 1 double he's working on now to try to offset 2 opens. Can still get to 210 if he can strike out. That's not going to do it. Blaha looking for the 70-foot lane on that ball. Unfortunately for Mark, all lanes here inside of Bolero Mount Prospect are the USBC regulation 60 feet in length. Blaha with the cover, but now he's looking at a maximum of 186ers opening game, and to try to get to that 15-23 total set by Weston Griffin. A couple of Tuesdays back on that special PBA Juniors squad, Blaha is going to have his work definitely cut out for him. So we'll get back over to Sean Lavery Spar for his 10th frame. He piled on another strike in the 9th. Take a look at PWBA player Mallory Clark first. Mallory, one of the best ladies at Bayside Bowl in Portland, Maine. Her Bopo name, Nut Sauce. Over to Blaha before SLS tosses. That needs some help, Mark. Oh, he did get the 10 out. I thought that was going to go a little long on him. It's 257 possible here for Sean Lavery Spar. Once again, the 1450 total of EJ Tackett last Saturday. One would think it would be in range of other PBA exempt players yet to bowl. And I don't think anyone will duplicate the 1631 that Graham Fa put up here last year. Fa bowled a little earlier in this event and didn't get the 1400 this year, so just goes to show you got to have everything going for you on that one particular day here at the LBC National Championships to take home a title in a division. For those of you double tabbing, looking to follow your favorite player, if SLS is your favorite player, they're going to skip a pair, land on the second between games 1 and 2. Is that blower 7? Boy, we've seen quite a few of those here at Bolero Mount Prospect. So SLS is going from 11 and 12 to 15 and 16. Blaha, your defending champion, is going from 15 and 16 to 19 and 20. Still a solid start for SLS. Our defending champion in the open class division, Mark Blaha, has some work to do. And we'll keep following those two players. We'll find some other hot hands in the field after game 1. Follow them here in the main feed as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning here from Bolero Mount Prospect. As once again, we've got SLS on this squad. No PBA exempt players on the 2 p.m. squad. However, 7 p.m. if you want to follow some great PBA players that are off the exempt tour. Matt Russo, Patrick Dombrowski, Bailey Maverick, and Dio Bernard all on our 7 p.m. squad tonight, along with Andrew Anderson and Chris Prather tomorrow at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. here in Bolero Mount Prospect. And tomorrow we'll have Matt Russo joining us in the booth during that squad. Player movement, game 2 coming up next for this squad of the PBA LBC National Championships. No. All right, SLS, solid start, 246. Not high game in the house. Kobe Franklin up on 33 and 34, start with 267. So we'll see what Kobe can do once he gets down to 5 and 6. We'll take a peek in on Mr. Franklin. Be a few minutes since they got the big walk all the way down the center. And is that going to shove the 2 down? Just enough by Lavery Spar. Appreciate everybody joining us on the PBA YouTube channel and on the PBA League Bowler Certification Facebook page. And once again, if you're looking for all the pair feeds so you can follow your favorite player, as we follow hot hands and big names here in the main feed. But if there's somebody on the squad you want to follow, it's in the description underneath the video that you're watching, or you can go to the PBA YouTube channel's main page, youtube.com/PBA. Click on the live tab, and you'll see all the pairs in play available to you, and you can follow your favorite player game by game. My suggestion is right-click and open that second tab on YouTube so you get the audio from here in the main channel, along with watching your favorite player uninterrupted for their 10 frames of competition on a pair of lanes. Of course, you'll have to keep changing pair feeds as they move, but hey, for free here on the PBA YouTube channel, you get a chance to watch your favorite player all 6 games. If you have any questions about the tournament, drop it in the chat. As Mallory Clark had a solid start, 210 for the women's class division, but she's going to need to carry a few more strikes if she wants a chance to get up in the first place in that division. One would think it's going to take a good size 1400, especially with some WBA stars yet to bowl, such as Verity Crowley and your 2-time defending champ Liz Johnson. Well, you don't usually see 15 in the first very often as SLS. Great cover on the super washout. Let's take a peek in at another player in the women's classic division, Melanie McDaniel. Bowling with her husband Ryan, along with Chris Pulliam and Larry Huang. Ryan McDaniel in the open class division, 247 start. Not a bad start for Mr. McDaniel. Also known as proprietor of Tiny Human Barbecue, among other business exploits the McDaniels have. And Larry needs some help on that. Doesn't get that to convert. Huang and Pulliam both in the men's handicap division. And give credit where credit's due. Ryan McDaniel pulling off the houndstooth shorts. To go with that bowling jersey for Tiny Human Barbecue. And McDaniel now light and light his first two efforts in 7 and 8, so he'll need to make that adjustment. Sean Lavery's probably popping in the left side of your screen there. And once again, the dress code a little relaxed as compared to a PBA Tour event for anyone participating in the PBA LBC National Championships. So that's why you get to see the well-built calves of one Sean Lavery spar on the PBA LBC calf meter. We give them an 8.7. We only rate the calves of bowlers that are PBA exempt that are wearing shorts when they bowl. And that 8.7 for SLS leads the PBA exempt division calf rating system. Then we saw SLS make the adjustment early in game one after a slow start. Open spare, then ran a bunch in a row till the 10th frame. And he gave that one a lot of extra and found some trouble. Let's check in on our defending champion in the Open Classic Division, Mark Blaha. Blaha, 185 opening game. Yeah, he's going to have to throw a big set in his remaining 5 to have a chance to repeat. Just goes to show how incredible Liz Johnson is. Even though there's not as many women Classic Division players as there are in the Open Classic Division, still be able to come in, beat a bunch of big names on the women's side of the equation, and take the title down in back-to-back years. It's pretty incredible. We'll see a little later in this event. I believe I haven't gotten the official listing yet, but I would believe with the scheduling of the PWBA 10th Anniversary Open, the only chance Liz and other PWBA players will have to bowl is next weekend, if they're not bowling already this weekend, as that event scheduled to wrap up on Sunday, July 13th in the Green Bay area. And that's our last weekend here at the LBC National Championships. So if Liz were to make match player of the TV show, in Green Bay, obviously it'd be impossible for her to get back down here to bowl the LBC and defend her title. So Blaha trying to bounce back, doubles fair double here through 5 in game 2. We'll check in with the man who had the big game, game 1, Kobe Franklin. He's down on 5 and 6. We'll check in with Mr. Franklin momentarily. Let's see if Blaha can get it out 3 in a row on this string. How about it? Nope. Slices through the nose and leaves that sleeper 9-pin. Franklin, you'll see coming up on lane 5 momentarily. His lane mates are Anthony Green, David Lampart, and Margaret Ventrella. Ventrella with a nice 225 opening game. She's in the women's classic division as well. Digging the Mario World themed jersey that Franklin has on. Wow. You would think a 6-pin traveling that fast would create a vortex that would get the 10-pin to follow it into the pit. Not the case on that vicious wrap 10 for Franklin. Franklin with the spare. Let's get over to Blaha. Converted that tough. 3-6-9. 6 frame, looking for the bounce back in the 7th. 10 back. Well done, Mr. Blaha. Oh, terrible break for Hansen. Ripper 7-10. SLS still has a maximum score of 222 this game. Slow start, not catching a double to frames 5 and 6 after an open. It has that maximum score well reduced as compared to his first game score. And Mallory Clark making a charge. That's 4 in a row for Nut Sauce. That's one of the better Bopo names. They had a big tournament at Bayside last weekend. The Maine Beer Company sponsored a $4,000 first place tournament in celebration of Bayside Bull's 15th anniversary. And there were some great players there, including Arturo Quintero, or El Nino as he's known, in the Bopo community. And other big names in Northeastern U.S. bowling at that tournament. Mallory Clark led qualifying for that event. Got through a couple rounds of match play before getting bumped out. But Charlie Mitchell. Whoa, no. Oh, my. Well, there's your surprise of the week. If you had SLS throwing a gutter ball. At the plus 10,000 bet level. Well, go cash that ticket in. That's one of those once-a-year misses you see out of a PBA player, especially on a pattern like this. The 7 steps to the line, a little better on line. Gets them all to go, but it's always that little extra pull they seem to give. Trying to keep it on the lane. But he manages to carry that high flush shot. Let's see if Clark can keep the string going. Nope. Oh, thought maybe she'd get a little backdoor trip on the 4, but all of a sudden, a couple bowlers with a case of the rights on that pair. And Franklin, there's his first double of the game. We'll definitely keep an eye on Kobe Franklin. That's a good looking jersey that Kobe Franklin has on with the Super Mario theme to it. And the Wii Bowl, W-I-I, Wii Bowl on the front of that jersey. Back to SLS, kept that one on the lane for the first ball. Let's look at the 202. And let's see if Clark can right the ship a little bit here. She can still get to 232. With 4 in a row here in the 9th and 10th frames. Oh, the 6 does not do the job on the 10. Let's check in on our defending champ, Blaha. Making his way back, he gets to 234 if he can get the last two in the 10th. Clark did convert her 10-pin. Peyton Naback. Gets the messenger to go, so he can put up 259 after a $1.83 start. So once again, a long way to go. They can get there. I mean, you put up a big 830 like Weston Griffin did for 3 games. You can have 690 for your other 3. So don't count a Mark Blaha or don't count a Peyton Naback out yet. So Naback with the trip, 259. Blaha, 234. Back to SLS, and then we'll finish this game with coverage of Kobe Franklin, as Franklin now working on a 3-bagger. Frames 5, 6, and 7. It's 200 on the head. Sean Lavery Spar. Let's see if Mallory Clark can put up a big finish, get to 221. Well done first shot in the 10th for Mallory Clark. And 9 or more puts her at 220, puts her at a solid start. Not a division leading pace, but once again, 4 games to go, put up a couple of big games. And you can get yourself into a #1 spot. Kobe Franklin 4 in a row, so Franklin with a chance for 260 this game. Take over this opening 267. .520, a solid pace for your first 2, but to take over the lead, he's going to need to keep that pace going. Through his remaining 4 games, we will stay with Kobe Franklin and his lane mates here in the rest of game 2.
we're going to be here at 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. So after this one, so you might want to make it right here somewhere. That way it's still close. And then you don't have to move it. But maybe
So let's see what Franklin can do here to keep the string going. It's got a lot of balls we've seen used successfully by players, bowling balls that don't have a lot of surface on them. You can see the shine that's on Franklin's bowling ball, and he's keeping it really direct. Ball's not getting a scenic tour of that lane, but it is taking 10 back on a regular basis. And once again, the possible 260 out there for Franklin. So your player movement between games 2 and game 3 is players are skipping 2 pairs and landing on the third. So the players you see here on 5 and 6 they're going to be moving to 11 and 12. Three and 4 obviously would be moving to 9 and 10. So if you're following your favorite player on a second feed, there's your lane movement. Skip 2 pairs, land on the third. As player movement, game 3 coming up next of the 6-game qualifying block. 2 more qualifying squads today, 1 additional qualifying squad tomorrow to close out the 5th of 7 weekends of competition in this 2025 PBA LBC National Championships. I'm $2 Phil Bridlo taking you through the entire event as Franklin just destroys a rack. Ho-hum. Just another strike as he's looking for a 260 finish. Let's check in on our PBA exempt player on the squad, Sean Lavery-Spar. .246.200 for Lavery-Spar for his first two. Needs to pick up the pace if he's going to catch E.J. Tackett. And that 14.50 leading score that Tackett put up last Saturday. Wow, we've just seen a rash of blower 710s earlier this morning. That's the fifth one we've seen in just over 2 games here on the main feed. Hate to see how many might be being left over all the feeds at this rate. Let's see our defending champ Blaha doing not well. Had a little bit of a bounce back in game 2, but back-to-back opens. In game 3 to start, yeah, it's going to be a long way back for Blaha. So we got a couple of hot hands early on the squad we're going to keep an eye on here in game 3. Kobe Franklin being one of them. Franklin plus 115. .248 in game 2 following a .267 opening game. Wow, another vicious wrap 10 for Franklin. Another bowler we're going to keep an eye on here. 29-30 in the women's classic division. Is Bethany Zucker. As Bethany at plus 85. After 2 games. Peyton Nabeck, we saw his big finish for 259 last game. Gets in the plus 42 after a sub 200 start. And Nabeck looking to keep striking. Not going to happen on that shot. Oh, Zucker, yikes. She had no idea she was on camera on the main feed when that happened, I guarantee you. She knows she may have been on one of the pair feeds. Let's see what she can do here to pick up the spare. Good news for her, she's working on a strike. It's no count lost as of yet. Much better shot off the hand, rolls up, and oh, she takes a 7 down late, so saves that frame with the bounce back spare off the gutter ball. If you have any questions about this LBC National Championships, feel free to throw those questions in the chat. And we'll get those answered for you. We'll have Neil Stremmel, Director of PBA Rules and Equipment, in the booth a little bit during Game 4 of this squat. So if you have questions for Neil about any of the PBA rules, any rules for this LBC National Championship, feel free to drop those in the chat, and we'll forward those on to Neil when he jumps in the booth. Let's get back over to Kobe Franklin. As you see with Franklin, not using an awful lot of that lane. We saw the same thing with Weston Griffin. When Griffin bowled and put up that 15-23 total, leading Open Classic division currently. It's on line for Bethany. Is it going to carry? Yes, it does. I mean, you look at the lines that Bethany and Kobe are using at the moment, two distinctly different lines, but they're doing quite well. Shot after shot to get all 10 down. Bethany outside the track area with a little actual right to left projection in the front part of the lane. Meanwhile, Kobe Franklin covering maybe the same amount of boards, but much farther left, but just using a little belly on the shot to get the same results. Over to Franklin. See if he can finally get a double on the board here in Game 3. I say that facetiously, of course. He's only in the 4th frame, and he needs to figure out lane 12. Wrap 10 makes a little adjustment. That ball grabbed a good foot earlier. Left the 4-pin. Nabeck head down, and you see why. He knew by the time that ball got 25 feet, it was not going to hold pocket. Brittany Zucker can't get a double together currently. She's got the score sheet clean through 6. Needs to do it here in the 7th as well. Can still get to 226 with a spare here in the last 5. Strikes on the score sheet. And the score sheet stays clean for Bethany. You see Larry Huang, great supporter of PWBA. Same for Chris Pulliam on that pair, 13 and 14. Chris started the Bull Forward Foundation that helps subsidize some of the PWBA players out on tour. And Melanie McDaniel gets a blower 7-10. She's going, what did I do to deserve that? That's just a rash of them today. Speaking of Rash, Sean Rash, July 6th, his date to bowl. If you go to the PBA League Bowler Certification Facebook page, you can find the latest updated list of when PBA exempt players are bowling the PBA LBC National Championships. If you haven't yet signed up to bowl, hey, you never know, you might end up on a pair of lanes with a PBA exempt player. Get all your tournament information, pba.com/LBC tournament. Still time to register. Still time to get your chance at the huge prize fund. There's been over $675,000 in prize money paid out over the first 2 years of that event. And at that rate, we're easily going to go over $1 million total in 3 years. Last year, for the main part of the tournament, over $30,000 was added by the PBA to the prize fund in all 8 divisions, along with the $100,000 that was up for grabs in the PBA Clash. That was all added money as well. I don't know many tournaments at the national level that are adding $130,000 a year to the prize fund. And we're going to get over to 17-18 as Molly Malone on the front 7, 24 over for her first 2. Molly bowling in the women's classic division. Will she get the front 8? Nope. Once again, every once in a while, bowlers seem to be looking for the 70-foot lane. And they're not finding it. So still a solid game for Malone as she tries to chase down that women's classic leading score. And Franklin yet to find a double this game. So let's see if Kobe Franklin can keep the score sheet clean. No special award for a Dutch 200 game in the PBA LBC National Championships. You don't get like another mini Duke. You only get the mini Duke for 300s, not Dutch 200s. But Franklin can still get to 240. Keep him on pace to try to chase down that leading number of 1523. Check back in on Molly Malone. open on that washout, but still a chance for 265. And if she can get there, it'd be a plus 89 for 3. That's a good pace to get her past the 13:23 score of Amanda Lang in the women's classic division. Janine McGee with a nice shot to open her 10th frame. So she's pacing 190. So let's see what Molly Malone can do here to finish off her third game, get herself on pace to take down that women's classic lead with a strong finish here in the 10th. That one a little light, yep. And you just see that ball did not turn over properly. Looked hair quick off the thumb. My semi-expert analysis compared to the couple other shots we saw. I don't think that lane changed that much on her from the 6th frame into the 8th and 10th. Give it a shot here, Molly. Slide it on over. What do you think? Oh, just missed. Still, game in the 230s. Keeps her on pace. And you can see the frustration from Malone walking away from that 10th frame. So no surprise, Kobe Franklin struck on the left lane. 4 for 4 to this point on lane 11. We'll see what Franklin can do here next time he steps up on lane 12. Trying to get his first double of the game. 5:15 for his first 2. Right on pace with that leading score in the Open Classic division. Everybody's always looking at that top number, but even if Kobe Franklin can't get there. A lot of room between second place Todd Seghetti at 1460 and that top number at 1523. So it would still be a 5-figure paycheck for second place in the Open Classic division. Of course, everybody wants the big check, but nothing wrong with 5 figures if you can't get all the way to the top spot. So let's stay with Franklin through the end of Game 3 as we approach the halfway point of this squad. With 2 squads remaining today, 2 p.m., a lot of players from creating the difference. And its CEO, Ron Hicklin, will take to the lanes. That squad, and on 7 p.m. tonight, 4 PBA exempt players on the squad. Matt Russo, Patrick Dombrowski, Bailey Maverick, Dio Bernard, and then Russo will come back here tomorrow on the noon Eastern, 11 a.m. local time squad. Sit in the booth with me, talk what he's looking forward to in the PBA Tour in 2026. And he'll be on the mic with me as Chris Prather, who finished second in the PBA exempt division last year and second in the PBA LBC National Championships Clash in Portland, Maine, losing to Gianna Brandolino in the last round. Prather and his doubles partner Andrew Anderson will be on the lanes for that noon Eastern, 11 a.m. local time squad. So once again, Franklin can't get lane 12 down. I mean, that ring 10 in the second frame. I don't know if he made some type of move off the ring 10, but it just hasn't worked for him. He's kept the score sheet clean. Still has a chance for 220 if he can figure out lane 12 in the 10th frame. But something tells me odds are, with Kobe Franklin already 4 for 4 on lane 11, he's going to make it 5 for 5. There you go. Yeah, and if that 10 pin would have stood, yeah, there would have been no witnesses to that assault, as that head pin would have taken out all evidence a 10 pin even existed. Definitely tell it's a little bit of a relaxed atmosphere here. PBA LBC National Championships. See some heads bobbing to the music playing on the lanes while the players are bowling. Green machine, we've all needed the 70-foot lane on occasion. We've also sometimes needed the 54-foot lane. I still love the year. I went and saw it. I didn't bowl on it. I still kicked myself in the backside at the Reno Hilton back in 1995, where they had the 100-foot lane. It's what's now the Grand Sierra Resort. And there's a 100-foot lane in Oklahoma as well. I believe it's at an Andy B's location up on the second floor that you might have a chance to be able to take a shot or two on. Just with all the years of bowling, when you see a lane that's a little different. You know, gets your perspective all out of whack. There's actually a bowling center in Milwaukee. It's actually a bowling center. It's actually 4 lanes at Shorewood High School in the basement of their gymnasium complex. Those lanes were originally put in back in the very early 50s when the building was built, so they didn't have automatic pin setters at the time. And so when they designed that little 4-lane bowling center, they didn't give any extra room at the pin deck area other than what you'd have for the pin boys back then. And Franklin still can't get a double. Bad time for a Dutch 200. So when they installed automatic pin setters in the later on in the 50s, there was a load-bearing wall behind where the pin boys were, so you can't take out a load-bearing wall, so the only way they can install automatic pin setters was cut 1.5 feet of the lane off. So unless you know it, you can't tell the difference, but unless you know it, at Sherwood High School, those lanes are only 58.5 feet from the foul line to the head pin. Just under 58.5 feet. You can't tell the difference, and unless you told somebody, they really wouldn't know. But yeah, those lanes are never obviously have been able to be certified. We actually used them in a couple of high school competitions in Milwaukee back in the day that we had on the local cable sports channel. And of course, they always fall for the Dutch 200. There's the high five. You see the frustration on Franklin's face coming back. But he's still at plus 115 for 3. Weston Griffin only had plus 90 for his last 3, so still if Franklin can find a way to put strikes in a string, he'll still have a chance to try to catch up to Griffin. Player movement this game between games 3 and game 4. Players are skipping a pair, landing on the second. So 3 and 4 are going to 7 and 8. These players you see here on 13 and 14. They're going to be going over to 17 and 18. 11 and 12 with Kobe Franklin and his grouping will go to 15 and 16. Halfway through this squad, 2 more squads today, another squad tomorrow to round out the 5-squad 5th weekend of the 2025 PBA LBC National Championships from Bolero Mount Prospect. Glad you can join us today. Hope you get to join us this afternoon for that big squad from Creating the Difference and for the big squad tonight at 7 p.m. local time, 8 p.m. Eastern, with 4 PBA exempt players on that squad.
tell you the BS now.
All right, looks like we got all our lane movement complete. We're going to start this game with Bethany Zucker. Bethany, strong finish, got the 7:14 for her first 3 in the women's classic division. She only needs to average about 210 to take over the lead. But once again, as we mentioned earlier, lots of big PWBA names coming in next weekend. To bowl. Some might be actually on this weekend as well. I haven't gotten the full roster yet, but scanning the entries. In that women's classic division. Some of the names yet to bowl include Verity Crawley, Olivia Komorowski, Danielle McEwen, Liz Johnson, your 2-time defending champ. A couple big names as well, Lauren Russo. And locally, Rochelle Blake, a name a lot of Chicagoland bowlers will recognize. Let's check in on our exempt player on the squad, Sean Lavery Spar, only 46 over after 3. He's got the all-spare game. Hope still alive after 4 frames. Of course, that's not what he's actually hoping for. And that leading score of E.J. Tackett pretty much out of sight for Lavery Spar unless he honestly goes off the sheet the last 3 games here. And that's not going to happen. And that's one you don't see too often with the going high 7-10. We'll jump down to Kobe Franklin as well on 15 and 16 momentarily, as we'll give Bethany Zucker here another chance to bounce back off the open. Yes, she does. See if she can get a string going late again in a game to keep her on pace for the women's classic lead. And for the first time in 12 frames, Kobe Franklin has a double as he threw a Dutch 200 in game 3. CTD, their squad is at 2 p.m. I've seen a couple bowlers on the squad I know are staffers, with Melanie McDaniel over here on 17, 18. I've seen a few other CTD patches and logos on players this morning, but the big squad for CTD, that's popping up 2 p.m. local time, 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll have that stream for you here on the PBA YouTube channel. Bethany Zucker running into some trouble in 7th frame. She's left the washout. 1-2-4-10. She picked it up, however. Franklin, though, can't. Boy, right lanes do not like him the last couple of games. Of course, with the oiling process used in this event, some tournaments, if they have multiple oiling machines, they alternate lanes. That's not the case here at the PBA LBC National Championships. As there are 2 Kegel Atlas oil machines in use, the only program on those machines is the LBC National Championships program. So there can be no accidental application of another program on the lanes. But one machine starts at lane 1, goes through its burn pattern through the first 4 lanes, then goes back to lane 1. And oils the first 18 lanes. Meanwhile, the other Kegel Atlas machine starts at lane 36, goes down to lane 33 in the burn process. And then works its way down from 36 down to 19. Let's get over to Bethany Zucker. She had a great conversion on the 1-2-4-10. Back in the pocket and doesn't get the 7 out, so she's going to lose pace on that women's classic lead. Spare and striking out gives her 192. Still keeps her 100 over with 2 games to go. Oh no. No. And more problems. Just wonder if she's maybe feeling a little bit of the pressure here on the national stage. Kobe Franklin would like to institute a new rule. Can I only bowl on all left lanes? We say that jokingly, of course. But sometimes there's just the subtlest little details. Going from pair to pair across this 42-foot LBC National Championships pattern that you get the ball near the pocket, and we've said this since day 1 of this event. There's lots of ways to get to the pocket here on this pattern. We've seen it today, especially when we're comparing the styles of Brittany Zucker and Kobe Franklin. Just a matter of getting all 10 down when you get to the pocket. And now Zucker is going to have back-to-back opens on board. Going into the 10th frame, so yeah, she's definitely falling off pace of the women's classic lead. Checking in our defending Open Division champion, Mark Blaha. Blaha, the circles continue. Only 35 over through 3, and he's going to give at least 5 back on that positive here in game 4. See if Franklin can end the right lane nightmare he's had over the last game and a half. Just 1 strike on the right lane after going Dutch and something not feeling good. And I'm just wondering if a last-second decision on what to do on the right lane may have affected the start of that approach. I don't think it was a noise. I don't think it was an outside influence. That seemed more like, yeah, let's try something else. There we go, another double for Franklin. Let's check in on SLS. Yeah, it's just not getting better for him. Strike out for 199, and looks like EJ's Tackett's lead is safe. At least for one more squad. No PBA exempt players on the next squad. And let's check in with Bethany Zucker, as those last couple of shots have not been close, and a lucky break there on the wall shot for the spare, but she's given a bunch of pins back, 149 the maximum. Let's check in on Molly Malone. Malone, she had that big game, game 3, started with the front 7, and Malone up to plus 63. 227 here would be huge, get her to plus 90. As Amanda Lang, I'm sure she knows that score of 13-23 far from safe in the women's classic division. Once again, if you're watching the action, getting the itch to get here to Blair Mount Prospect and Bowl. There are still openings available during the last 2 weekends of this event, July 5th and 6th, July 12th and 13th. And there are some big PBA exempt names that are bowling on those last 2 weekends. As on the 9 a.m. squad next Saturday, July 5th, Chase Nadeau and Stu Williams will be bowling. Christian Ascona is on the 2 p.m. squad. Then on Sunday, July 6th, 3 big names on that 11 a.m. squad with A.J. Johnson, Boog Kroll, and PBA Hall of Famer Sean Rash. Let's add a couple more names on that 11 a.m. squad next Sunday with Tom Smallwood and Packy Hanrahan. On Saturday, July 12th, on the 2 p.m. squad, Nate Stubler takes to the lanes. And then some big names to finish off the 2025 PBA LBC National Championships on the final squad on Sunday, July 13th at 11 a.m. local time, noon Eastern. Jason Sterner, Kyle Sherman, Bill O'Neill all on that squad. One would think if Kyle Sherman is here, even though Brad Miller isn't exempt, Brad may be here as well. I don't have a full confirmation on that yet. Of course, Brad would be bowling in the Open Classic division, as the PBA exempts only for the top 55 players that were on tour this past season. Yep, Brad Miller is scheduled to bowl. He is in the Open Classic division, so I'd assume Brad Miller will be here as well. On our final squad of the tournament. So another solid game there for Molly Malone, and she still can get a chance to get that Women's Classic division lead. Derek Harris looking for a big finish. Harris in the Senior Classic division, only plus 49 for his first 3, but a big finish here can get him to 100 over. Harris already with the first one in the 10th frame. Let's see if he can pop another one. Guarantee himself being in the 250s and getting himself to 100 over with 2 to go. Might not be enough time for him to catch Chris Barnes' score from yesterday of 14:38, but you never know. And we'll get back to Kobe Franklin, because Franklin's figured out that right lane. Franklin now with a 4-bagger on the board. Good toss there by Derek Harris. So Harris trying to get himself a nice size check in that Senior Classic division. Let's see what Kobe Franklin can do here. And while Kobe Franklin finally got his 4 in a row stealthily on his pair, Margaret Ventrella had a slow start, put together a big 243 game in Game 3, and now here in Game 4 she started with the front 7. Ventrella, that needs some help to hold, and it does. So the front 8 for Margaret Ventrella. And once again, that could be another bowler that's on pace to try to take over that women's classic lead. So we'll stick on this pair for the 9th and 10th frames. Yes, once again, Kobe Franklin with an outside chance. It's going to take a couple of big game 5 and 6 to go with a good finish here in game 4. So if Franklin can strike out here, put a 279 on the board, that would get him to 200 over. Oh, actually 194 over, but still a couple more 279s. Obviously, you said it's going to take big games for Kobe Franklin to try to take over the Open Classic Division lead, but there's still an outside chance. Oh, and the 4-pin stops that string. Once again, the right lane. If Kobe Franklin could bowl on all left lanes, I think, the last 3 games, he'd probably have 300. the rate he's been carrying. The right lanes are the ones that have been giving him trouble. Well, his strike string may have ended. Let's hope that that doesn't happen for his lane mate. Margaret Ventrella, as Margaret stepping up here looking for the nifty 9th in a row. Only had one 300 game by a woman in the 2 years plus of this event. That by Kayla Pashina out of Minnesota in the 2023 event, where Kayla fell just short of Liz Johnson's total to take home the Women's Classic Division title, but she does have herself the greatest 300 award in all of bowling, the Mini Duke. Get up, hold, there you go. And we have the chance for perfection. Yeah, Bolero Mount Prospect. And honestly, I can't remember the last time we've seen a woman take a run into the 10th frame at getting their Mini Duke. So Franklin running into trouble. That's pretty much going to end his chance of getting into the Open Classic Division lead, even with that great conversion. As it's basically going to take a pair of 300s. Well, a 300 and a 279 would do it too for Kobe Franklin to get the Open Classic Division lead. But here we go. You're going to see her coming into the left side of your screen momentarily. As we are at Bolero Mount Prospect. And Margaret Ventrella looking to become just the second woman to earn a Mini Duke. There you see the big Duke over her left shoulder. The 300 game here at the PBA LBC National Championships earns the Mini Duke. There you see her power through on that first step. And 10 back for 10 in a row for Ventrella. And this big game is going to get her ahead on pace for the Women's Classic Division lead. As with the perfect game, she'll be at a plus 149. And just a couple of 200s would keep her in the lead. As the women's classic division currently, that leader is Amanda Lang at plus 123. Get down, 9-pin. Come on. Are you kidding me? But a great run here in game 4 for Margaret Ventrella. And she has a solid opportunity to become our new women's classic division leader. After this game, if you want to keep an eye on Margaret Ventrella, if you're watching in the main feed and want to open a second tab, Ventrella is going to be moving right next door from 15 and 16 over to 17 and 18. After that great 289 game, there you see getting her fist bumps and high fives from her lane mates after a great game. So we'll have that player movement right next door, and they'll be underway at Game 5 momentarily. We'll check in with a couple of other bowlers having solid games to this point from Bolero Mound Prospect. So Kobe Franklin, he does have room to take the Open Classic Division lead, but literally he has room for one errant shot. Good way to start Game 5. Actually, if he had back-to-back errant shots and spared him, he could get away with it because he needs 564 pins over 2 games to overtake Weston Griffin. And he's the only player on this squad that I've seen that has a realistic chance. Well, still has a chance to take over the #1 spot in the Open Classic Division. However, his lane mate, Margaret Ventrella, great 289 game. In Game 4 has Ventrella at plus 138 using the PBA plus-minus scoring system. So she has a 15-pin plus pace advantage as compared to our leader, Amanda Lang. Lang finished off at plus 123 for her 6 games. So if Ventrella goes back-to-back 200s, she'd easily be your new leader. I'm sure Ventrella really wanted to take home that mini Duke. I mean, she'll definitely want to take home the first place check in the Women's Classic Division if she can get there. And let's see what Franklin can do here. Try to keep that slim glimmer of hope alive. There's a double to kick off game 5. Sean Lavery Spar, not a good day for him to this point. But he's looking to salvage the day with a mini Duke. He's on the front 5. Make it front 6. Mallory Clark doing okay in the women's classic division, 882, but once again, that's going to take some good games and trying to get past Ventrella to try to get to that open classic division lead. Speaking of Ventrella, she'll be stepping up on lane 18 momentarily. Once again, Ventrella, you watch that late timing she has. That foot is stopped for a good half a second at the end of the slide before that ball gets powered through. Using a relatively straight line to the pocket. Not quite the right to left projection through the front part of the lane we saw earlier with Brittany Zucker. Probably Bethany Zucker, but definitely you can't throw it any straighter through the front part of the lane like we're seeing there for Ventrella. Go back to Lavery Spar. Something not happy with the step with the shoe there. Instantly goes back to check the slide sole. Not sure if maybe picked up a little debris or just didn't have the weight distribution right. Oh, not great footwork for SLS at all. Not sure if he picked up something on that slide sole, but you could just tell. Coming through. He's got the ball speed. Achievable to try to bounce a pin out of the pit here on the big 4. Doesn't get the break. Let's get back to Franklin and Ventrella. Ventrella looking for the front 3, trying to match her lane mate Franklin. How about it? Stares it down. Yeah. I thought that was going to be a little more aggressive to the pocket. And now the bucket for Margaret. I always love watching bowling centers because you can tell when the buildings perfect for bowling because every spectator that's in here that's not actively walking around or anything, you see people wrapped in blankets, they're wearing sweatshirts. I got here this morning, it was a very comfortable 64 degrees inside the building. Oh, and that one goes long on Ventrella in the first open frame in a while for Margaret. So yeah, it's always interesting to see the fans while they're watching because the bowlers are comfortable. And the fans are a little on the chilly side, even with all the bodies that are in here again right now. But yeah, Bolero Mount Prospect, they've been getting ahead of the heat every day of the event. When I walk in on a Saturday or Sunday morning and get that chill walking in the door, it definitely wakes you up a bit. So Kobe Franklin, front four. Willie Wilson right next door. Hey, let's see if Mr. Wilson can get a front five. He's got a solid day to this point. He's 109 over. Got a ways to go if he tries to get that senior classic division lead. But, hey, if he can put up a perfect game here and a big game like Barnes did yesterday in Game 6, you just never know. There's the bounce back for Ventrella. Take it on down, Margaret. This could be 3 out of 4 squads we've had a lead change on the Women's Classic division. As prior to last Saturday, Gianna Brandolino was in the lead for the first 3 weekends of the tournament. Brandolino, last year's PBA LBC National Championships Clash victor, will not be making a return as she's already been dropped back to 3rd place. As Kayla Crawford on the 2 p.m. squad last Saturday took over the lead temporarily, and then Amanda Lang came in on Sunday and put up the current leading score of 1323, and that's the target score Ventrella's looking at. But obviously, knowing the firepower that's coming in next weekend with some of the PWBA Tour's best bowlers, you have to figure that you're going to need a good size 1,400 total in that Women's Classic division to take home the title, especially when you think that Liz Johnson's done it with 1,500s in both 2023 and 2024. Kobe Franklin, front five. Not sure if Franklin or Ventrella entered any of the optional side events. The optional doubles, which counts the first 3 games of competition for both doubles partners, and the 4-player team, which counts games 4, 5, and 6 for those players that register together as a team. You just have to pay the entry fee prior to the first player bowling. You can't get somebody that puts up a big score and then go, hey, they're my doubles partner. Obviously, it doesn't work that way. And Ventrella, come on now. Really? Shreds that rack. Corner pin stands. So I know there's players. I saw somebody in the chat earlier. Rocky Harrison said Sean Lavery-Spar was one of his doubles partners. Rocky bowling a little later today. So he signed up on the League Pals app. I'm sure he signed up with several other PBA exempt players as well. And that's the neat part about this tournament. If you wanted to bowl with Andrew Anderson or Chris Prather as your doubles partner, as long as you paid on League Pals before they bowl tomorrow, and if you bowl the last 2 weekends of the tournament, they can be your doubles partner. Last year, our winning total in the 4-player team event was a bowler who paid the entry for himself and 3 PBA exempt players. And took down that title and took down, well, he got a quarter of the entry fee. Obviously, they split it 4 ways, so whether or not the PBA exempt players sent him a thank you check or not. But it's kind of fantasy bowling. You know what you're getting into. I think it's pretty neat to be able to do. Let's check on Mallory Clark, because we said Mallory had a halfway decent day going 882, so she can put up 211 here, get to 100 over with 1 to go. Well, 211 will leave her at plus 93, so plus 92 right there after the 5-pin. So if any faltering is done by Ventrella, a solid last game by Clark could get her in the women's classic division lead. So while we were away, Franklin with the open ends his chance at perfection and ends his chance at taking over the open classic division lead unless he runs 18 in a row. There's no room for error anymore for Kobe Franklin if he wants that $25,000 Open Classic Championship check. And a little trouble again for Ventrella. So we'll see if she can keep the score sheet clean and get a strong late finish. Try to keep herself ahead in that women's classic division pace. Ventrella all over the 2-4-5. Checking another bowler had a chance at the women's classic lead. She faltered a bit last game. Bethany Zucker. Zucker pacing 190, so she's falling back a little bit. She's going to need to start putting a few strikes in a row. And a big break there to leave just the 3-pin. Seventh frame for Ventrella. It's on line. Oh, and the 6 doesn't do the job on the 10. Don't know if she knows the score situation. She knows she's having a good day, obviously. When you're sitting at 138 over for 4 games, you know you're having a really good day. But whether or not you're looking at the leaderboard. Some people like to know what they need. I was always a fan of just keeping my head down and not putting any undue pressure on myself, just focus on the task at hand, and that's just throw a strike, throw another strike, throw another strike. And Ventrella all over that 10-pin. So she can still get to 218, still give herself a few pins over the pace Amanda Lang has set. But once again, right now, you have to figure any player in that women's classic division isn't going, well, if I can just get past that 1323 that's on the board, even if I just get it by a pin or two, they know every pin's going to be huge because of the PWBA star power that's going to be here next weekend. So as you said, Kobe Franklin, no room for error the rest of the way if he wants to be your Open Classic Division leader. And that's it. Weston Griffin, your lead is safe for at least one more squad. I don't know if Weston would actually be scoreboard watching. Something tells me he might actually watch the last squad on July 13th. I remember last year, Mark Blaha. Blaha was watching the last couple of weekends pretty religiously to see if anybody would get by him. And score. Blaha not having a great day today. Blaha just 43 over through 5. So once again, the only division to have a repeat champion the first 2 years of this event is the Women's Classic division. As another defending champion falls by the wayside. Bill Froberg didn't have enough yesterday. Brianna Mernier aged out, but she was bowling in the women's handicap division last weekend. Didn't have enough to take the lead in that division. Mark Blaha is not going to have enough. Garrett Beyer bowled opening weekend. Not going to have enough. Graham Font, the PBA exempt, far from enough. And Kaylin Ranson, haven't seen her bowl this event yet. I don't think I missed her. Oh, I did miss. Nope, she hasn't bowled yet. So we still have one more player that could defend their championship with Kaylin Ranson and Bobby Kunimura in the men's handicap. Has not bowled this event, and he's scheduled to over the next couple of weekends as well. So still 2 chances out of our 8 champions. To get a defending championship. Of course, it's tough to do in the handicap divisions because you've improved your bowling. Your entering average is going to be much higher than it was the year before. So we'll have to see if a player can repeat in one of those handicap divisions. And of course, Liz Johnson yet to bowl in the Women's Classic. Before Ventrella takes back to the lanes, let's check in on Bethany Zucker. And Bethany on an open frame can only get into the 190s. So she's losing touch with the rest of the field, and yikes, that ball. Not the worst of the day. Unfortunately, we saw her put one in the ditch during game 4. But this is going to be a tough pair A tough spare for Zucker. The 1-2-5-8-9, but she covers it successfully. Guarantee you, she's 1 for 1 on that spare in 2025. Sure, she probably has not left that in any of our other competitions. So still 218 possible. Ventrella. Let's see what you can do here in the foundation frame. There you go. No witnesses left on the pin deck. Everything finds the pit. See a question in the chat. Is this open to international bowlers? Sure. If you want to make the trip to Greater Chicago, you just need to have a verifiable average if you're bowling in one of the handicap divisions. If you're bowling in the Open Classic, Senior Classic, or Women's Classic divisions, no average necessary to be verified because those are scratch competitions. So you would need to have a verifiable average with your national bowling governing body that can be verified if you're bowling in the handicap division. But yeah, we welcome everybody to Bolero Mount Prospect. Get your chance to feel what it's like to be at a PBA event. You get that feel from the moment you walk in the door until the moment you leave. You got to check in your equipment, get your lane assignment, get your 10 minutes of practice with 4 on a pair, just like a PBA Tour event. Get a chance to see your name up in lights on the scoreboards. And you never know, you might even have a PBA exempt player on your pair of lanes like we saw with Sean Lavery Spar during the day today. So our players moving between Game 5 and Game 6. They're going to be making the biggest move of the round. You'll be skipping 3 pairs landing on the 4th. So the players you see here on 17 and 18, they're going to move to 25 and 26. So skip 3, land on the 4th. Yeah, let's see what Ventrella can do here for a big finish. Trying to keep the pace going. For the Women's Classic division lead. Is she going to get the 7? Wow, another 7-pin that interrupts a string for Ventrella. We saw that back in Game 3 as well. She's still on pace. Another game near 200 will have Ventrella in the lead. Will she get that Women's Classic division lead? We'll stick with that pairing on 25 and 26. Coming to you is our final game of this block from the PBA LBC National Championships. Rolls on. So we're going to stick with this pairing on 25 and 26 with Margaret Ventrella making a run at the Women's Classic Division lead. Got a couple of other ladies that, with big games, could get past Ventrella. As Mallory Clark, she's down at 3 and 4. She's at plus 92, so 43 pins behind Ventrella. And we'll get an update on Melanie McDaniel. McDaniel at plus 84. So McDaniel right next door to Ventrella. Let's peek in first on Clark as she's kicking off her sixth and final game of this block. As we mentioned, sitting at plus 92. And a little light on that first effort. And she'll have that sleeper 8-pin to have to deal with. So Ventrella comes up light, and that's the thing. When you're moving pairs, you're making that educated guess as to what you need to do. Let's see what Melanie McDaniel can do here for the educated guess. Shreds the rack. McDaniel at plus 84. And let's check in on another player with Zucker, plus 112. I've just been corrected. Zucker's in the women's handicap division, not the women's scratch division. She can't be catching a lot of pins in that case. Oh, Kobe Franklin trying to save a decent sized check out of the day. Plus 184, can't get to the lead. But if you can get to perfection this game, you can get the second place overall. As we said, second place, that's a 5-figure check. Let's get over to Mallory Clark, as Clark looking at shooting her second consecutive spare. This time at 3-6 after going 2-5-8 in her first frame. Back to Ventrella. And Ventrella makes it happen. Joining me in the booth, Rogue Foppy. And Rogue, we've got 3 women trying to chase down that women's classic lead. You know 2 of the bowlers very well, with Mallory Clark and Melanie McDaniel. And we've got Margaret Ventrella leading the charge right now, plus 135. What bowling balls have these ladies been using, and why is that helping with their success at this moment?
So they, as I had said yesterday, cleaner stuff is going to be better. Both of them have stuck with either medium to low end ASIMs or a little bit stronger symmetricals. They're both keeping angles in front of them, which is minimizing a bunch of the weird leaves that we've been seeing across the last few weeks. Mallory started with, where are my notes? Mallory started with the special effect. I believe she's in the original hammer effect now. Melanie started with the Attention Star S2, went to the Ion Pro Solid, and then Equinox.
And Clark still can't get all 10 to go 3 frames in. Just keeping the score sheet clean, however.
Mallory was talking about having some thumb issues over this past weekend. So she's battling that a little bit. Still making great shots, just sometimes, as we all know in the lovely bowling world, Carrie can either love you or hate you.
Now we talk about how tough it is to get all 10 back on a consistent basis. This LBC National Championships pattern isn't making it tough for a lot of players to get to the pocket on a regular basis. It's just getting that ball to get through and get all 10 down. I mean, we're 5 weeks in and we've had one player shoot 1,500. We've had a handful of players shoot 1,400 or a 233 average. So, and Ventrella, she's got it down. She's finding a way to get 10 down again. Let's get back over to McDaniel. Yeah, she converted the weak 10 she had in the second frame. Yeah, she made the big walk down in front of the booth where she has her equipment. She started on 3 and 4. So
She
she
Zen
made a ball change.
25 now.
Yeah, she made a ball change. It's not the ball you gently tucked in under a blanket last night, is it?
No, that was
Okay.
the Ion Pro
That was the Ion Pro
Solid.
Solid, okay. And she's combating the front of the lanes with a little bit of loft and maybe too much loft. In that particular case, you can see she's trying to settle herself down. Yeah, it's a 2-4-5 left in play.
I really tried to put the good juju man into that Ion Pro Solid. Kept it nice and warm last night.
So Clark keeping it clean, but she's definitely going to need to start putting some strikes together because it doesn't look like Ventrella's going to stumble here in Game 6.
What's the lead currently for the women?
13-23 by Amanda
Lang.
There
you
we go.
And Kobe's just been on a tear all day.
Well, the right lanes in games 3 and 4, he would love to get those pairs back. Dutch 200 in game 3, and then game 4 couldn't carry on the right lane on 3 of his 5 shots. And then, yeah, ran into some trouble late last game, running into some trouble this game. So we'll see if Ventrella can put 3 in a row on the board.
I can confirm that earlier in the day she was throwing one of the GB5 variants. I don't know what she's in now.
Something black, something shiny.
That was what
I
the
can give you-
GB5 was earlier that she was throwing. So I'm curious if she's still in it.
Or some people get a ball they like so much, they drill up multiples.
I will say I can be accused of that.
Give you the radio call on Clark as she's trying to get a double in the 5th frame, which she does. Ventrella, that looks online. A bit high. I'm a bit surprised by that, and then by her reaction too. I think she thought she was in good shape there. Only thing I can think of is that gave it a little early elbow, a little extra early rotation. on that. And you don't see a lot of late timing anymore, that late of timing on players as you do with Margaret Ventrella, but she's been making it work for her all day today. Ventrella will shoot her spare before McDaniel takes to the lane again. And Sean Lavery-Spire, we saw him start with the front six last game. Guess what he's got this game? Front six. We'll get back to him shortly. He's on the same pair with Mallory Clark.
Good strike by Melanie.
McDaniel. Yeah.
That Zen 25 is a great ball. If anyone wants a good starter ball, anyone doesn't have their own bowling ball yet, I would say that one's a pretty good one to go.
Once again, the opinion is expressed by Rogue 5. You're not the I can't remember the whole line now. I was going to use it. Or not the it's not the opinions of the PBA $2 fill or 10 on the deck productions. I got to find that line again. All opinions expressed. Because I got the old 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 3 wrongs make a strike. Of course, that's property of $2 fill enterprises. Please do not use without the express written consent of $2 fill and of 10 on the deck productions. Three-bagger for Clark. Yes, indeed. Doesn't seem happy with that shot, but she must take the results in accordance with USBC rules and regulations. Once a ball is considered a legal delivery, you must accept that pinfall on your scorecard, regardless of how terrible you think you may have thrown it, or how terribly you actually did throw it.
I always said growing up in youth league, good shots, bad carry, bad shots, good carry. That was my motto.
Ventrella, beverage frame. Ooh, half. That's double bubble right there. Team I used to bowl with, that was a double bubble situation. You got half in the fifth, half or less. That was 2 rounds. Of course, there's a reason why my wife drove home from league on every Thursday night, so she bowled on a different team. One of the best deals in the Chicagoland area, if you're bowling the PBA LBC National Championships, whether it's before, during, or after your squad. $3 domestic bottles at the bar here at Palermo Mount Prospect. Oh, and just takes the 8 out. You see the big sigh of relief on the way back. So we got a couple players to look out for here on 3 and 4, not just Mallory Clark trying to extend her strike string and try to take over the Women's Classic Division lead, but also Sean Lavery-Spire. Uh-oh, we got a runaway bowling ball on 3 and 4.
Basketball time.
Oh. And they almost had it bounce out of their bowling bag again. You think they would have learned their lesson the first time. McDaniel on the spare attempt gets it done. Back to Clark, looking for 4 in a row. Will we see the Rob Stone pork product? No. Unfortunately, the semi-weak 10.
That was a very weird hit. That 8-pin almost stood.
Yeah, 6-pin was basically straight up and down as it entered the flat gutter. It did not tip into the 10. So 246 the max for Clark, if my math is correct, with a spare here. So the 246 would be enough to get past the 1323 of Amanda Lang, because that would give Clark 1328. Problem is, Margaret Ventrella here isn't going backwards, keeping it clean with a double.
Oh.
And And now she's found trouble for the first time in a while. Over to McDaniel.
Crossover.
And McDaniel not going to make a run at the number 1 spot, but she's having a solid day and looking to take home a decent-sized check here for the PBA LBC National Championships. Overall payout in all divisions, 1 and 8. It's pretty good for a national event, especially when you start seeing those multiples of zeros behind the first digit of your check. Not too many checks going out there for $75. So McDaniel, great cover. Ventrella. See if she makes a run for it here or just takes the 2 and moves on. 2 move on. And let's get back over to Mallory Clark as Sean Lavery-Spar's string ended while we were away. So no mini Dukes to be awarded on this squad. So Mallory Clark can assure herself of second place by striking out here 8, 9, and 10. That would be second place through this point, obviously. 3 squads is remaining this weekend and 3 squads both of our final 2 weekends, 9 squads remaining overall. Whether she would stay in second. There we go, 10 back for Clark. Still that chance. Take over the top spot in Women's Classic. And we'll get back to Ventrella. See her coming up lane 26. She can still get to 230. She needs to shoot 188 to take over the lead in Women's Classic for the moment. And then again, assumes that Mallory Clark wouldn't have struck out by that point, as Clark's going to be stepping up for her 9th frame momentarily. Ventrella, another light set. I think she's left more 7s than 10s today, honestly. At least she has over the last 3 games. My goodness, that's her 4th one in the last 3 games.
Corner pins just want some attention today.
Let's see if Ventrella will shoot first or McDaniel. Ventrella's going to shoot the spare first, then we'll go to McDaniel, and then Mallory Clark, as we said, she needs to strike out to get past Amanda Lang. Thing is, Ventrella is still ahead of her. What do we got there for a max on McDaniel after that strike?
$225?
235.
235. Oh, little right.
A lot of right.
Dang.
And 6. So a good day for Clark, but no chance to take over the number 1 spot any longer. And now it's just a matter of, can Margaret Ventrella finish strong in the 8th, 9th, and 10th frames and put up a score that takes over that Women's Classic division lead.
What does she have to shoot?
188. 188 would put her at, well, 188 would put her at 1323 as well, so she has to shoot 189. 188 would be a tie. Thing is, if she goes Dutch the rest of the way out, she's at 190. So if she fills frames of good counts, she'll get there. If she opens in either the 8th or 9th, She'll need a double in there somewhere. And even if she doubles in the 8th and 9th, if she opens in the 10th, she could fall short.
Very good shot.
Oh, are you kidding me? Let's go from a blower 7 to a pack 7.
Wow.
Come on, Jace.
I think the 7 pins have an agenda for her.
I said she's left more 7s than 10s today, easily, by far. And once again, if she would go strike, spare, strike now, she'd be at 189. She'd take the lead by a pin. If she goes spare, spare, she'll be short. And she's got to make sure she picks the 7 pin up here, because otherwise, yeah, that really puts on some pressure.
Good conversion.
Dead on with that conversion. Let's get back to Clark. As Clark after that open, she can get to 214 this game and get her to plus 106 overall. That's definitely going to be a check in the women's classic division. Good toss out of the hand. Oh, and almost a stuffed 7-9. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you can get to the pocket. You just got to find a way to consistently get 10 down.
I wish there was a way to keep track of how many pocket 9s we've seen. I feel like there's been a lot.
There's been a few today. There's been a few blower 7s. There's been a few wrapped Kobe Franklin, a few wrap 10s for Kobe Franklin. They got in his way. Let's get over to McDaniel. Oh, single pin miss while we were away, so she can get to 2-0. So a good effort. Possible check if she can strike out in the 10th. So Clark did spare that 9 pin. Clark's going to step up first, and then we'll get back to Vantrella.
Beautiful shot.
See, plus 96 for the day, not too shabby. Biggest toss of the day to this point, other than when she was on the front 10 earlier. When she was trying to get her mini Duke, ended up with 289 in game 4. Likes it, and you see why. So spare, strike in the 10th for Vantrella. Gets her to lead by a pin. Strike on the first ball of the 10th, and more than half on the second shot in the 10th would get her there as well. Because you just never know when somebody can go 4 through the middle. We've seen it happen. So we are waiting to see if we are going to have a new leader in the women's classic division. The question is, how long can it hold? Will it hold with all those PWBA stars next week? Like Liz Johnson, Danielle McCune, Verity Crowley, and others. Last year, Billy Froberg got done with this 6 games in the senior classic division before the PBA 50 Tour Special Squad came in. Billy went, no way my score holds up at 14:34. It did. And he made his way to the LBC National Championships class. Maybe it could be the same thing for Vantrella if she can finish strong here. It's always possible. But then you look at that last roster in that lineup. That 9 pin was vicious, Mallory. That was, oof. Who has more body art, you or Mallory?
Mallory.
Mallory by far? Okay.
Yeah. We've talked about getting matching spooky bowling tattoos. We're just trying to figure out what we want to go with.
What would be a spooky bowling tattoo?
That's what we've been trying to figure out.
like a bowling pin, like a bowling pin looking ghost or something? I don't know.
No idea.
No idea. A skeleton throwing a bowling ball. A skeleton biting through a bowling ball, like he'd have it in like the skeleton hand, and he takes a bite out of it. I don't know. Just throwing ideas out there. They're all useless, but they're ideas.
Her and I are the spooky besties, as we say.
So we will have our next squad coming up after a short break, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Pardon me, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. here in Mount Prospect. Graphics department really needs to start working their game a little bit better. Here with the 10 on the Deck Productions crew. Of course, we want to thank the PBA for letting 10 on the Deck Productions be their exclusive live streamer of this event for the 3rd consecutive year. And we'll have another squad for you. Once again, no PBA exempt players on that 2 p.m. squad. However, we will have a big squad from Korean the Difference with CEO Ron Hickland and a lot of his staff members bowling on that 2 p.m. squad. So it's a good possibility you could find somebody pretty good that you know on that squad. So make sure you join us back here at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. here in Mount Prospect for that squad. And here we go with a chance for the Women's Classic lead. Margaret Ventrella. Big 289 game in game 4 got her a bunch of pins to her current plus 135. And that's going to be a tough mark here in the 10th. If she picks this up and strikes on the fill ball, she'll be the leader in the Women's Classic division by a single pin. Spare in 9 would be a tie with Amanda Lang at a 13-23 total. Anything less than a spare in 9, she'll find herself currently being in that number 2 position. That needs a little help to get over, gets them both down, and now needs all 10 to take the lead by a single pin. Ventrella is going to take a little extra time, I would think. Just waiting for some of the noise to calm down, making sure those fingers are nice and dry when they're inserted in the ball. And let's see if she can get all 10.
Good
Audience
shot.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Your leader by 1 pin currently in the Women's Classic division, Margaret Ventrella. Great finish for Margaret. And we will be back at 3 p.m. Eastern time with your next squad of the PBA LBC National Championships. For Rogue Foppy, I'm $2 Phil Bradlow. Hey, parents, take the kids bowling because you know they're going to have fun for life. We'll see you a little later this afternoon from Bolero Mount Prospect.